Hi there, Zamir for NerdTube. These are my thoughts and spoilers of the four-part documentary called Filthy Rich on Jeffrey Epstein. Now, this particular documentary came out just a couple of years ago, I believe, maybe a year ago or so. And it's not that new, but I did come across it recently, decided to watch it, and now I'm reviewing it. Jeffrey Epstein is somebody who left his mark in history, especially most recently. As we all know, the famous phrase goes that Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself. A lot of people obviously believe that because this person was going to probably bring down a massive ring of pedophiles in his pedophile ring, famous people, rich people, powerful people. But that never really happened because he died in jail. Now, prior to his death in jail, we got to find out who this Jeffrey Epstein guy is. Him, Ghislaine Maxwell, all the people in his circle, as well as the victims as well. And it was quite fascinating, really. Epstein was a man, when it came to his victims, because he obviously had a thing for young girls, he would find girls that were easily manipulated, very vulnerable girls, people who needed money, people who had maybe mental health issues, even been raped before or whatever. He would take advantage of that. He also had Ghislaine Maxwell, his girlfriend, a British Oxford educated woman who was the daughter of Robert Maxwell, who was basically the Rupert Murdoch of his time. And yeah, he had her alongside him, and she was also a groomer too. She was a paedophile herself. Her and Epstein would both simultaneously molest girls. Epstein couldn't help himself. He would be grabbing them all the time, and because this was a time when men could do what the hell they want, and women just had to take it. Girls just had to take it. And when you're a rich, powerful person, mogul like Epstein as well, where you got so much money behind you, so many connections, then a lot of these girls felt powerless. I mean, some of them needed the money and was willing to accept the abuse because they were getting the money, and they were getting something like $200, which is fuck all. It really is, especially the ordeal they were going through. Regardless of the ordeal, no amount of money could ever basically cover the cost of the ordeals these girls were going through. But for $200, it was absolutely ridiculous. But that would be like nothing for someone like Epstein, not even 2 pence for someone like me. So it was harrowing hearing these stories, because just not like just one woman after another woman after another woman after another woman just coming out with these stories about being molested, raped by Epstein and some of his associates. It was just amazing with every episode. Even though they were talking about different aspects of who Epstein was and some of the people in his life and all of that, and Epstein Island and all of that, we will still then find another person who came across Epstein who was raped by him and raped by Ghislaine Maxwell as well. It was unbelievable. They just kept coming out because there were so many of them, because this guy harbored so many young women, young girls, young girls, children. He was raping children. And he started a pyramid scheme as well, because once again, these girls were desperate for money. And he would get some of these girls to bring in new girls so he could have more meat on his fucking table for him to fuck over. The amount of people that he damaged. And some of these girls knew that they didn't like what they were doing, but, they were getting paid. So, unfortunately, it ended up being something they did because they wanted money out of it. And when it came to prosecuting Epstein, these girls were actually considered to be the culprits, not the victims at times, by being called underage prostitutes. How can you call children underage fucking prostitutes? It was beyond me, but nevertheless, we find out about places like Epstein Island. Epstein Island was a place where he would bring all these famous celebrities, people like Chris Tucker, people like Bill Clinton, people like Kevin Spacey, which I found was a bit of a weird one, but he batted for the other side. But nevertheless, he still came over to his island. And Donald Trump as well was famous for mingling with Epstein too. Always said that mentioned how he liked them young. It's incredible this person could be our next president. It's fucking frightening. This person who was an Epstein associate. But also Prince Andrew too. Now Prince Andrew, he's in the picture with me in this video. The girl he's got his hand round, her name is Virginia Roberts, and she confesses in this documentary being raped by Prince Andrew, we see a little snippets of the documentary of, sorry, the interview Prince Andrew had with the ITV journalist, which basically incriminated him even further. But the guy is royalty, he's rich, powerful. Nothing happened to him. He went into the woodwork for a long time after that documentary, but he came out of the woodwork once his mum died, and nothing's fucking happened to him. Even the palace put out statements saying that he had nothing to do with that girl, and yeah, no justice will ever be served to Prince Andrew, the fucking paedophile cunt. And probably same with people like Donald Trump and Bill Clinton and all these other motherfuckers who are associated. You know, Woody Allen, Alan Dershowitz as well. Alan Dershowitz is a famous lawyer who didn't care what crimes, you know, his clients did. He was there to support his clients regardless of whether he thought his clients were guilty or not. He admitted that in this documentary. It was fascinating hearing this fucking legal wanker say that shit. But he was also accused of you know, soliciting and being part of that Epstein circle of you know, being with underage girls as well. Some of these girls had, you know, admitted that in this documentary. Some of these women, I keep calling them girls, by this particular time they're women, but at the time they were girls. And yeah, they confessed to saying that people like Dershowitz and Andrew and several other people were part of the, food on the table, you know, for these celebrities to do what they want to do with them. It was very harrowing as well. So it's no surprise that when chickens came home to roost and Epstein finally couldn't hide away from his past anymore, and eventually with through social media and all of that, the Me Too movement beginning and all of that, and people like Harvey Weinstein being put away, it was no surprise that Epstein was next. And it was no surprise after that he was killed, because God knows what fucking dirt he had on so many famous, rich, powerful people who are part of his sex trafficking ring. And it's a shame, really, because this sort of shit is still going on today. People like Matt Gaetz, the politician in America, he's been known for doing sex trafficking of his own. He's even been caught with records of it through his Apple Pay account when paying for a 17-year-old girl. Apparently, he solicited for sex to be taken across state lines. And the funny thing is that being 17, it's not an illegal age to have sex, but if you're then sending this girl to travel across the state to other parts of America, to different states in America, and you're going to have sex with her, then that is sex trafficking. And he's been done for that. But no, he's been found to be doing that. But will he ever get anything happen to him? Probably not. You know, because he's rich and powerful, and even people like Andrew Tate. I mean, I look at him as the new Epstein to a degree. Donald Trump as well. He's been associated with Epstein, and these guys seem to get away with anything they want. I mean, it doesn't matter what they fucking do. Like nowadays, you know, if people like you, it doesn't matter if you're a fucking paedophile even. You know, you could people don't care anymore because they like you. And I mentioned Andrew Tate earlier because I saw him in a documentary with a guy called Hassan Abi, and Hassan Abi absolutely wiped the floor with him on various issues. But Andrew Tate, being very petulant, got pissed off that some 16-year-old girl that he liked, who was in the chat with him, had left or something along those lines, and he got pissed off with Hassan for making him lose this 16-year-old girl. Now, why would Andrew Tate, be so interested in a 16-year-old girl? And that obviously makes me then think of the comparisons of him and Epstein, and maybe he's like a modern day Epstein with so many incels around now who worship someone like Andrew Tate. They'll probably forgive him, or even encourage him to fucking find young girls for him to fuck and maybe pass them on to them because they're incels, for fuck's sake. And same with Donald Trump as well, grab him by the pussy. He's got pictures of him associated with Jeffrey Epstein, but his cult will follow him off a fucking cliff. And that's what worries me with today's society. Even though you can out certain people, if you have cult-like followings like Tate, like Donald Trump, then people just don't care anymore. I mean, they're happy to accuse people like Bill Clinton of being part of Epstein's circle, and I have no love for Clintons, none at all. Now I found out about them being a lot associated with Epstein. I want nothing to do with them, and I think a lot of people I know on my side of the political spectrum want nothing to do with them ever again because they're tarnished goods. But Trump, I mean, Trump's there. Look, there's a picture of him right there with his hand on Epstein's shoulder. God knows what they fucking got up to. Trump had famously said, you know, about Epstein and how he knows that he likes the girls young. He knew these things. I'm sure that he didn't just know these things. I'm sure he indulged in these things allegedly, but will his fucking cult-like followers abandon him over this shit? Probably not. If they did find out that even if there was news about all this stuff and pictures or whatever, they'll say those pictures were doctored and the news is fake. They don't fucking care what he fucking does because he's their man. And I really do worry about today's society regarding that. When I mentioned with Andrew Tate earlier, that it doesn't matter what some of these people do nowadays. If they like you, they'll follow you off the end of the fucking earth. Anyway, it was a interesting documentary, finding out everything that happened to Epstein. I don't want to go into too many legal issues because legalese is not really my forte. Some of the stuff regarding what he did as well is just too detailed and I can't think of the word right now, but it's not necessarily what I want to be talking about. Some of the stuff he actually did. But yeah, watch the documentary. It's a 4-parter. You will find it interesting. I mean, the only thing I can mention regarding this documentary that was a bit of kick in the nuts for the victims was the fact that he never got to really spend time alive in jail. His death in a way was a get out of jail free card for him, regardless of him killing himself or somebody killing him so he wouldn't spill the beans on the rich and powerful people that were probably in his little black book. He never served any time. His death was him escaping one more time, and so yeah, that was probably the bittersweet moment for the victims. But at least a scumbag like this is no longer on this planet with us anymore to cause us any more harm. Anyway, let me know what you think of this documentary if you've seen it. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. Take care. Bye bye.